Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. Please give us a few minutes for attendees to join the webinar. We'll be with you shortly. Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on acoustics and educational environments. I'm Mark Rich, VP of Sales, and with me, as always, is Rick Farthing, Design Engineering Manager. How you doing, Rick?
Doing good, Mark. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. So today we're going to be talking about, again, acoustics and educational environments, going into various platforms. And if, of course, there's any discussion, simply raise your hand or post something into the chat box, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
And there may be a test at the end of this class.
That's right. Okay, so as always, we kind of go over a brief introduction. We're going to be going over baffles, beams, panels, different types of applications. Along the way, we'll be discussing our certifications that we have, E84, C243, various lead products, especially in today's webinar, Red List free, LBC, Living Building Challenge. And then also the LEED initiatives are highly important, especially in educational environments, more importantly, Red List free environments. As always, we like to put up just some of our larger channel partners that use our products quite regularly, just to add a little validity to the product and to what we manufacture. So we're going to start off with printed art. Printed art we discuss a lot on other webinars, but here we're going to show you specifically in a school environment. Printed art panels come in 1 1/8 or 2 1/8 thick, offering various different NRC requirements based off the environment that you're in. And Rick, so if we're looking at this artwork here, how do we go about putting together such a large piece like this and making it look almost seamless?
Well, this would be a digital image, and it's the digital printed fabrics are usually resilient enough and thin enough that any seam lines is very thin, very minor, within a 1/16 of an inch.
Mm-hmm.
So you can actually, right next to the left of the basketball, you can kind of see that seam line right in the orange. So
Yes.
it's really hard to find unless you're really there looking at it and nitpicking it apart. I also want to point out that the face, there you go, right there.
Mm-hmm. Right there.
Usually in these multi-purpose rooms or gyms, it's a copolymer facing for the super high impact.
Good point.
So it could be, typically it's 2-inch with a copolymer face, and or 1-inch or tackable. So, but more to the point that yes, we would lay these out on the floors, ensure that the pattern matching of the digital images one to the next is spot on, and with minimal seam
in between the two.
In between them, yeah.
And then what we also offer and what Rick and his team do is when we're laying out our shop drawings and putting them in there, we will do guides on the back of the panels with a lettering system to let the installers know exactly how it needs to be put in there for the various reason. And I'm just going to take this highlighter too, is if we happen to have multiple patterns coming through like this, you have to know the order of the orientation, or it can be very it can be very hard for someone to just look at it and know exactly how to install. So what we'll end up doing with printed art panels is taking it to our digital printer. They're going to know how to lay out each panel. You're going to get a proof. And then what we're going to do is lay them out in our shop, number them, give you the instructions of how to put it all back together so it looks like a seamless pattern like you're seeing here.
Yeah, to make sure that you're getting the desired image, that every between the manufacturer, the installer, and the GC, as well as the customer, everybody's on the same page about what they're getting and what they're installing.
Where it's going to be. Good point. So leading into this space is a reverberation that echoes in these chambers, which is why a lot of schools put in the baffle systems. This one, we're going to go into a couple different ones that we typically do. This is our single core baffle. Our Sabins rating are 12.0 based off 24 by 48 inches. Why would somebody want the single core, Rick?
It's more of the ease of the image of up on the ceiling. It's more, they can be interlocked or edge butted together to make one long baffle a lot easier than the dual cores. And they can be both hung by suspension cables or threaded rod to keep any swaying from happening from breezes or fans or open doors. And it's a very ease of, well, it's limited by the fabric. I wanted to kind of talk about some of the limitations are with custom shapes. It is being wrapped on all 6 sides, so it's got to be a light weave fabric to conform to any special shapes. This is just a rectangular shape, so it'd be easily wrapped. But
so
and then everything is Class A, even the wood reinforced top and all the mounting.
And it allows you to have a well, about the same thickness of panel, but a lot of the times you're using a 1-inch or a 2-inch thick core, which is typically how we do it. As Rick had pointed out, it's easier to match them up. I don't know if you heard me say it earlier. There's no seam coming up the middle where you're actually putting 2 panels together. So it makes it a little bit different. So depending upon your application and how you're using it, we'll help recommend you one way or the other with our design team and sit there and say, okay, you might want to do a single or you might want to do dual core just because of the particular project and how it's laying out.
And these can also be done in vinyl, digital prints, or fabric.
Yep, absolutely. So clouds and tackable panels in multiple environments. Here we're showing you in a lunchroom environment to where we're using our EcoSonic clouds. This is a redless free product. So it's a formaldehyde free core and tackable panel, which is an MA face. And they're both chemical free products. So you're going to meet those certifications. You're going to have the tackability against the back walls there. You have the printed art where it shows the gators, and you have a wonderful cloud array that's being suspended from the top via threaded cable rods. And the nice thing is with these products, if you're doing a vinyl product, we perforate the vinyl on the back walls to print on there. We could digitally print on vinyl. We can also do on the back walls. And as you're seeing here with the columns, that's just your standard vinyl wrap that you would see, you know, in any environment, to where you can take the vinyl, wrap it around the columns, and you can match everything in the system because we can use the same materials that they're using throughout the process. Anything you want to add to that one, Rick?
No, you got it all.
Nailed it. There you go. So custom baffle designs. Rick was pointing out baffles. You know, I'm going to let you take over baffles on this one then.
Yeah, this is the dual core, which is basically 2 panels adhesive back to back with a suspension tabs for suspension only. These cannot be threaded rod
That's a good point.
mounting.
Yeah.
But you're able to get better or more exotic shapes, or very extreme shapes that can't be flexed with a light weave fabric, because and also size-wise, you can actually, if you wanted to have a complete 96 wide by 48 high hanging baffle,
Mhm.
you can only do it with this because you're limited by the fabric dimensions. So in more of the custom sizes, custom shapes, large sizes, this is the best option for you. And as far as performance, they're identically the same.
Mhm.
And the single core versus the dual core.
Yep. Sometimes, even though this is limited in the way that you can hang it, as Rick had pointed out, sometimes it can be more cost effective because we're only having, while we're wrapping something twice instead of doing it once, it's much easier to wrap two smaller objects on 5 sides versus 6 sides, and bringing them together. Because it allows us to have more pull, more play, more, you can less time trying to get everything to line up correctly. So again, that can sometimes come into your design, or sometimes it can come into the way that the space needs to look. Again, we like to offer multiple options, and that's why we have the single core and the dual core. Ecosonic tackable panels. We get a lot of requests for these. Rick was pointing out to me earlier, our biggest request is a whiteboard with panels on both sides. So you've been designing a lot of school environments over your tenure here at Lambton. What's the most common scenario for these?
It was basically what you had said, usually a whiteboard, chalkboard, or a monitor that is either surrounded by panels or 48 by 48 panels on either side for, like what you're showing here, for posters, homework assignments, stuff like that on the other side of the board. That, and usually around one side wall. It's usually the front facing wall and one side wall, depending on if there's windows or not. And yeah, just doing 1-inch acoustic panels, detachable face, and yeah, just straight
That's what we've
to
been
the
seeing a
point.
lot of. So when you're designing them in those environments, certainly keep an eye out and look for them. There are a lot of tack board requirements out there. Remember, they don't have NRC. So while it's nice and you could put some sort of fabric or vinyl on top of them to make them look good, you're not getting any acoustical value out of your standard tack board. So if you go with our tackable panels, you're gonna get some of that reverberation, some of that sound absorption. You might as well, if you're already paying to do something, pay a little bit more and you get something twice as good. So it just makes it a much better environment for the students, for their learning, for the teachers, every possible scenario to mitigate some
Yeah,
noise.
and typically it's the elementary schools will just have that tackable board or the
Yeah,
tack board with a vinyl because they're just looking for rigidity and some durability.
impact
Versus middle schools and high schools will usually go with the Ecosonic tackable panels.
Absolutely. So here you saw in our front image, which was our library with some sonic design form, our plank style, which is what you're seeing here up in the ceilings. If you look up towards the top up here, these are the plank designs. They come in multiple lengths and thicknesses and widths. We can custom make them to different designs. You can run them, vertically, horizontally, whichever way you're kind of looking towards. But we could do different patterns, different textures, different styles, just kind of giving a little bit more of an environment to the library area to add a little impact, towards the design of the area. Here we're showing you something, movable dividers. While we are showing you in a corporate environment, we want to bring this into effect because we've had more requests recently for these inside the schools. So this is a PET movable divider. So if you need to shut down some sound in a particular area of a classroom, you can take these dividers and put them around people. Or Rick had pointed out more recently, we had them for, what was it, testing, you said?
Yeah, it's testing centers to give privacy to students and prevent cheaters is specifically what they
That's what they
requested.
told us. So, you can, of course, you can tack things to them. You can absorb a little bit of sound. You can create, custom partitions between the spaces just to have multiple environments. If you're having a reading section and you're having a testing section inside of a classroom, the teacher can easily move these things around. You can get them with rollers or with standard feet as well. Auditoriums, this is huge. We're getting a lot of requests right now, especially for educational rooms for auditoriums. We do have a lot of factors going into here. Rick, can you talk about the beams, the diffusers, and the reflectors, and I'll point them out as you kind of go along?
Yeah, this is a good beef stew of acoustics here. We got a lot of the reflectors, the diffusers, I should say, barrel diffusers going down. And typically those are a 50-50 of diffusers to acoustic panels on walls. So you see a lot of the 48 by 48 acoustic panels with the 48 by 48 barrel diffusers on the left and right side. And on the stage, again, this is would be 100% covered in acoustic panels with minimal seam lines. And yeah, we would utilize the best usage of the cores, try to do 48s by 96s, and then up on the ceiling as to not fully absorb the sounds. You want to reflect them back, and a lot of schools, churches, choir rooms, they need the reflective panels to accompany and to help accent all the acoustics and diffusers on the
fine
side.
tuning of the environment.
Yeah.
Yep.
You don't want to over acoustic a room. You want to control sound without dampening the crispness of what you're listening to. So
very good point. And then last but not least are timbers, which you're seeing over here on these walls. So that's something to where we could take a small thin profile. Again, the nice thing is when you're looking with acoustics that we manufacture, we've mentioned this before, anything you can make out of wood, we can make out of acoustics as well. So if you want thin looking wood beams like you're seeing here, we can certainly do this. You can put it across the ceiling if you want,
yeah, I was just going to point that out.
There's no limits. You just got to let us know what you're looking for and how you want to accomplish it. If you don't want it that refined, we can take it down too. But again, we'd just like to show you different environments and different applications. Absorbent sound block, we'll go over this one real quick. So if you have a classroom next to a gymnasium, if you need to stop that sound from transferring over because you can't put the panels for some reason in the gymnasium, and it's, maybe they can only do baffles, they couldn't put anything on the walls, but you have a classroom right next to it, you can use this sound block right here, which is a piece of your standard fiberglass with mass loaded vinyl, another piece of fiberglass, and then we wrap it all so you can't see it. But what that's going to do is basically mitigate and lower the sound transmission through the wall. Has an NRC rating and an STC rated product. So it is going to aid in that. Is it going to be perfect? No. Will it reduce it? Yes. But we like to just show this example for those environments. And that's the end of our presentation today. We really hope you guys, got some great knowledge out of acoustics in educational environments. I'm Mark Rich, VP of Sales, and with me as always is Rick Farthing, our Engineering Manager. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Have a good day.
I always have a problem ending this thing.
That's why we promoted you.